There exists a kind of discipline that unsettles those who witness it, a quiet, unwavering force that commands respect and at times fear. Today, you'll glimpse the path toward that level of mastery. You've seen such souls before, the ones who never seem to falter. Each dawn finds them rising at the same hour, repeating the same rituals, moving through life with a silent certainty that others call unnatural. While most surrender by the third week, they remain. While others craft excuses, they simply arrive. And those watching whisper, "That can't be normal." Centuries ago, Zen monks in Japan created a system that births this very kind of relentless constancy. They named it Gyoji, the practice that sustains itself. Once its essence is understood, breaking a goal becomes impossible. But there's a cost. This path is not meant for everyone. It demands the death of a part of you, a self you never realized was still clinging to life. Before we step into that understanding, pause for a moment. Reflect on the habit you wish to weave into your being, the one change that would transform your days. Let your heart make a silent promise to itself. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1: The Awakening. This is the story of Rafael, a programmer, brilliant, driven, yet quietly restless. He had all the markers of success, except one: discipline that endured. No habit survived longer than a fortnight. The gym held him for 2 months, meditation for a week. Books gathered dust after 3 pages. Every pattern repeated the same refrain. Monday, boundless. Motivation. Wednesday, the first whispers of compromise. Friday, surrender. Sunday, repentance wrapped in new promises. Rafael tried everything: habit trackers, reward systems, accountability partners, and nothing pierced the veil. Because the battle wasn't with willpower, it was with the architecture of his own mind. Until one day, he uncovered the reason Zen monks can meditate for lifetimes without missing a single dawn. It was not will nor discipline, but something far deeper and far more unsettling. Chapter 2: The Secret of the Monks in the Temples of Zen. There lives a rule so simple it reshapes the very nature of effort. Gyoji, continuous practice without interruption, without gaps, without pause. Since the year 1200, each morning at 3:30 a.m., a bell sings through the halls of Ihai Temple. And since that same year, every monk has awakened at that precise moment. Not 3:25, not 3:35, but exactly 3:30. There is one thing that never happens there. No monk lies in bed debating whether to rise. That question does not exist in their minds. Why? Because they understand something most never do. The mind divides all commitments into 2 realms: reversible and irreversible. The first invites negotiation. The second leaves no room for thought. When a monk takes his vows before the temple, he is not promising to try. He is transforming identity itself. He does not hope to meditate. He becomes meditation embodied. The vow is witnessed. The self dissolves, and with that, the dialogue within ends. Modern science now echoes this ancient truth. A Harvard neuroscientist studying habit formation found that when a person makes a behavior public, the primitive brain treats failure as a threat to survival. To lose face before the tribe once meant death. That old wiring still hums beneath our modern skin. Rafael began to live by this truth. He abandoned private resolutions and began making declarations carved in light. He wrote, "I am a person who meditates for 20 minutes every morning at 5 a.m. for 90 consecutive days." He signed it. He posted it. He spoke it aloud. His girlfriend laughed. His colleagues mocked. Perfect. Every doubter became fuel. Each morning when fatigue whispered, he imagined facing them all and confessing that he too had surrendered to comfort, and that thought alone kept him standing. By the 3rd dawn, the true test arrived. The alarm rang at 5, and instantly, his mind began its familiar plea: "You're exhausted." Chapter 3: The Internal War. "This isn't healthy," his mind whispered. "One day won't make a difference." But something had already shifted within him. The thought of announcing his failure after just 3 days was unbearable. The idea of meeting his girlfriend's eyes and admitting defeat once again felt heavier than waking before dawn. His public vow had made quitting far more painful than continuing. And yet, this is where the real war began. Even beneath the weight of social expectation, Rafael still wrestled with himself each morning. His body cared little for reputation. When it wanted rest, it demanded rest. The declaration had silenced mental negotiation, but the body still rose in rebellion. That's when he uncovered the second principle of the monks: non-negotiable hours. Every day, we waste fragments of will on the same useless question: when should I begin? Now or after breakfast? Morning or night? Each hesitation burns the very energy meant for practice. We waste our fuel deciding when to drive instead of driving. Rafael chose 5 a.m. Not because he adored the sunrise, but because the world slept. No messages, no noise, no intrusions. Hour wasn't about optimization, it was about elimination, eliminating every possible reason to delay. The first week was a quiet hell. His body fought, each morning like a creature, defending old territory. That resistance was natural. The body loves its patterns, and creating new ones feels like tearing skin. By the second week, something changed. He began waking minutes before the alarm, his body now preparing for what awaited it. On the 14th day, his feet met the floor before his mind even joined the act. No thought, no decision, only motion. This is what few understand about fixed hours. They are not about finding perfection in a schedule. They are about removing time as a choice. When each day begins differently, the mind must choose anew each time. But when the hour is sacred, the brain can no longer argue with eternity. Yet even this constancy revealed another flaw. Rafael's time was fixed, but the content of that time was fluid. Some mornings, meditation; others, reading. Occasionally push-ups. The mind, clever as ever, had found new ground for negotiation. No longer fighting the when, it began debating the what. The schedule stood firm, but the practice itself had become a storm. He had conquered the clock, but not the self that hides within decisions, and that was when he encountered Dogen's most challenging teaching, the teaching of forms. To do the same act, in the same way, until the mind surrenders entirely. Chapter 4, The One Way. We believe variety gives life color, but it is variety that kills devotion. Every small change, every moment of "what should I do today?" creates cracks through which old patterns return. Should I read or meditate? Should I do push-ups or stretch? Each question is an invitation to drift back into weakness. So Rafael sealed the openings. He designed his ritual like a sacred script: 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading, same order, same rhythm, same silence. His own ango, 90 days of identical practice. His friends called him robotic. His girlfriend said he was becoming dull, almost mechanical, but they could not see what he understood. That irritation was part of the purification. Repetition was the chisel. Annoyance, the sound of the stone breaking. By the third week, his mind roared for variety. Each morning, it begged for change, any change. But he had already chosen the path of stillness, and stillness does not bargain. Chapter 5, The Practice Without Gaps. This is foolish, his mind whispered again. You're not a machine. Sooner or later you'll burn out. But it was not burnout that came. In the 4th week, something fractured, not his discipline, but his resistance. The inner voice that once argued so fiercely began to fade. By the 6th week, he was already halfway through his push-ups before he even realized his body had begun. The practice had started to live on its own. This is what most people never understand about consistency. It has little to do with endless willpower. It is the quiet art of repeating until willpower becomes unnecessary. The body learns the pattern the way a dancer learns rhythm until the movement performs itself. An MIT researcher, after years of studying habit formation, once said, when a behavior is repeated in the same context for about 66 days, the basal ganglia of the brain take over. Action becomes automatic. You no longer choose to do it. You simply do. On the 35th day, Rafael caught the flu. On the 40th, he had to travel for work. This was the moment when old habits used to return, the classic escape. I'm sick, I'll rest. I'm traveling, I'll skip today. This is where consistency usually dies because we wait for perfect conditions, forgetting that perfection has never existed. But Dogen understood, something the modern world still overlooks. He wrote that practice must flow without even a moment's gap, and for it is in that single gap that all old patterns return. Rafael realized then, practice does not require perfection. It requires continuity. The all-or-nothing lie has slain more dreams than laziness ever could. If I can't do the full 20 minutes, we say, I'll wait for tomorrow. If I can't do it perfectly, I'll do nothing. And so we create spaces, little absences, where our past selves crawl back in. Look closely at any master, any athlete, and you'll see something we often misread. They rest. Yes, but their rest is part of the motion. Their pauses are deliberate, never born of indifference. A rest day sharpens the blade for tomorrow. It is still part of the forward flow. Skipping because you're tired is not rest, it is retreat. A river does not cease to be a river during a drought. It slows, it thins, but it still moves. The moment it stops, it ceases to be a river. It becomes memory. Your practice is no different. The instant you stop, you are no longer practicing. You are remembering a time when you once did. On the 40th day, Rafael's flight left before dawn. The airport buzzed with weary travelers, but he found a quiet corner in the restroom and did his push-ups there, indifferent to the stairs. Perfect. He meditated in the back of the Uber. He read a few pages somewhere above the clouds. Nothing looked ideal, yet everything carried the same current, movement toward the vow he made 90 days before. This was Gyoji, practice that sustains itself. And that was when people began to notice. His co-workers said he seemed different. Friends whispered that he was becoming obsessive. One even said his discipline wasn't healthy, that normal people don't live this way. Exactly. The moment they call it too. Mooch is the moment you know you're touching something real. Because normal people get normal results. You are not seeking normal, you are seeking what cannot be broken. But even the unbreakable must face what cannot be predicted, the unseen storms no system can prepare for. Chapter 6. Pre-solutions. Life has a way of testing the edges of our resolve. Your child falls ill. Your car stalls on the way to the gym. Your boss asks you to stay late. And in that fragile instant, your rhythm trembles, not because you are weak, but because you never decided what to do when the storm arrived. Every time chaos appears, the mind hesitates, and in hesitation, discipline dissolves. We choose comfort over continuity, because the battle we face was never prepared for. Yet for centuries, Zen monasteries have kept their practice alive, through wars, through floods, through famine. How? Because they remove the need for decision. When the meditation hall floods, they move to the dining room. When the dining room burns, they sit beneath the open sky. The bell rings and practice begins. No debate. No delay. No mind. Rafael learned this. He wrote every obstacle that had ever broken his pattern, and beside each one, he wrote its answer. Rain, push-ups in the garage, guests at home, silent practice in the bathroom, a hangover and which should not happen, but if it does, 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, 1 page of reading, no excuses, only movement. This was not about rigid control, but about freeing the mind from the burden of decision. When you pre-decide, the brain rests. It knows the path, no matter the weather. A Yale psychologist once said, when you remove choice from chaos, you protect willpower for execution, not debate. By day 70, Rafael's practice had become its own current. He sometimes woke without remembering the push-ups, yet his body had already moved. When his girlfriend's mother visited, he quietly continued at dawn. While the house still slept, the answers were already written. On the 90th day, his personal ango ended, 3 months of unbroken practice. But what stood before the mirror was not the same man who began. Friends told him, "Your consistency is scary." He smiled softly. Good. Chapter 7. The transformation, because when your discipline unsettles others, you are finally touching truth. Your calm persistence reflects what they fear, that what they call impossible is merely uncomfortable. They will call you obsessive. They will whisper that you need balance. But balance, for them, means remaining unmoved. They want you to slow down so they can feel better about standing still. But you did not begin this path for them. You walk it because you have discovered the secret. That consistency is not doing something every day. It is becoming someone who cannot live any other way. When you embody the Gyoji system, public declaration, fixed rhythm, seamless method, and pre-written answers, you stop practicing discipline. You start becoming it. You cease to be the one who tries and become the one who is. And when that transformation ripens, people will look at you and wonder, how does he do that? And the answer will be simple. He doesn't. He is. So the question remains, are you ready for this kind of transformation? Because this is not about self-improvement. It is about death and rebirth. The death of your inconsistent self. The birth of your unbreakable one. The Gyoji system does not make you better. It makes you different, in a way that unsettles the ordinary. And when you hear them say, "That's not normal," you will know you have finally arrived.